Gospel Diaries.
Enfield West Clifton Street.
So I can die serving you.
All right, what's up, Gospel Diaries? I'm at it again. I'm here in Philadelphia.
Get a trap where you at?
Only if you all knew what I really mean by at it again, but this is gonna be an insider from me and you, Rab. Okay?
Yeah, that's right. We're gonna tell it. We're gonna tell the soul.
But however, I'm in this historic city, or colonial city rather, Philadelphia, and this building, you know, that you're housing the church in, it has a history. Let's talk about that a little.
With the Underground Railroad, the river's right down the street. The bridge goes over the top of the river. And I think about 2 blocks from here, where the slaves is the Johnson House. He financed. He's one of the financiers. That's the street is named after Johnson. And they said when they escaped in the wintertime, they had to sleep on top of the roof in the snow. To tell somebody, not this church. 2 blocks from here, the Johnson House on Germantown Avenue. That's where they slept at. And across the street from Johnson House is a Kirkland Nice funeral home. That was the first funeral home in the country. It was started by a carpenter that started making caskets. Before that wasn't no such thing.
Wow.
So that's another historical thing.
So
Now it's a church. The funeral home's a church.
that's something. Wow. So of course we're going to get into his background, his musical background. He sang with the Sons of the Birds. And
That's right.
Of course, he graduated to the Dixie Hummingbirds. But we want to kind of linger here a bit. Tell us, you are a native of Philly, right?
Yes, right.
So tell
North
us,
Philadelphia, where all the gospel singers wound up living.
Right.
David's sister, Angelic, Pearl Burley, the Dixie Hummingbirds, the Nightingales, in a 4-block area. You could walk to see anybody you wanted to see. And why they chose Philadelphia, I don't know, but I think New York was just too expensive. That's what I think.
Wow.
Or you could stay here and work out in Philadelphia. Go to New York, go to Newark, go to Boston, come back. Overnight stay, that's pretty good. But as I told you before, when you leave and go to Alabama, you better be staying overnight in some overweeks too, because you can't come back home overnight. So that's how the law started. Some groups traveled and some groups didn't. Harlem 94 didn't travel as much as the Birds, because they did a lot of weekends, a lot of churches. The Birds seldom sang in a whole lot of packages. You know, like the Clouds of Joy and all that. You know, they always wanted to be by themselves. Okay. Which makes sense to me, I guess.
Yeah, wow.
Even the Sons, we didn't sing in Philadelphia that long. I mean, that much. We didn't sing in Philadelphia. The scripture talks about the prophet at home. So that's why we would, you know, every Friday night we were striking out going someplace.
I wonder why that is. It's like you don't really
I don't
get
know.
praised.
I don't know. Well, that's in the Bible. Prophet people take you for granted. So I know him. You know, he lived next to. You're not famous, but you go 800 miles from here. Everybody's famous. You know, give me your autograph. Let me touch you. All that kind of stuff.
So being raised in Philadelphia. So what was the church scene like? The black church. How important was the black church?
The only thing you had to go on for your black church. Matter of fact, when I first started singing in the 50s, 53, I still was in high school. I mean, junior high school, which I was singing rock and roll. And in North Philadelphia, if you didn't have a rock and roll group standing on the corner harmonizing, you ain't nothing. Coming from school, we'd go down to the subway, and I used to tell everybody it sounds good in the subway because your acoustics are different, you know. So I was always singing rock and roll, but mainly you get girls that way. Then when I went to high school, that's when all the Blue Nooks and all of us went to school together.
And You went to school with Harold.
I took, matter of fact, off the record, Harold got in some kind of trouble, and I took his place.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was my competition with the girls. And we raised up together. That was my buddy. So anyhow, I couldn't get those dance steps. The Blue Notes had a routine, dance and these knee pads, all that. I couldn't get that. I didn't feel none of that stuff. In '56, I went to the Marine Corps, but I had just started singing gospel.
Oh, okay. So you weren't really raised in a religious home, huh?
Oh yeah,
You were.
You didn't have no choice. My father was the treasurer of the church for 50 years.
What church was it?
I haven't seen him. Ever seen
The
that?
one in Newark?
No, the one here. It's three of them. One here, one in Newark, and one in New York. I haven't
So
seen him.
New York is Adam
Clayton Powell. That's right.
Newark is Reverend Means.
And Alec Bradford.
Alex Bradford.
Yeah.
And then here
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, Jefferson. Reverend Jefferson was our pastor.
You ain't talking about Thomas Jefferson.
No. I wish I had that. Yeah. So, we had no choice about going to church on Sunday. That was it. So all I knew was church. But then my next door neighbor started rehearsing me and giving me music lessons at 5 years old. Then I started traveling with a white group, right, a Presbyterian group called the Children's Church of the Air. And every Saturday we would make the tapes, now they're called tapes, transcriptions back in that time. And they'd play them on the radio the next day, that Sunday.
So what kind of music were you singing? Was it like sacred?
Like little kids, yeah. Jesus loved me, this I know. All kind of hymns and all. Yeah,
You
little
had
kids.
fun?
Well, what happened was I was too young to understand all those songs. Now I understand them. But when we were singing, they were standing on a box at the radio station because I couldn't reach the mic. But as I said before, the little kids can get away with a whole lot of stuff. They're them cute little kids, even if you can't sing, you're just cute little kids. But when I got to be 11 or 12, I think I got too big for around them little white girls, so they say we had to go. But it wouldn't. I just didn't fit into the children's church there. You had to be little kids, But they traveled on a Sunday. They would come get me on a Friday night and keep me in Upper Darby, which is about a half an hour from here. That's an all-white place overnight because they would go to a couple of Presbyterian church on a Sunday singing, and I was with them, But I think today I don't have the fear. I'm not in awe of white folks because of that. I was always with them. Old time singing.
Oh, yes.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes. And I think this is a perfect place to continue this talk. So, by you singing, what type of joy do you find in singing? Like,
It relieves all the tensions in the world. My late pastor said, Christians ought not never die for heart trouble. So Jesus said, let not your heart be troubled.
Come on.
Just believe in me. Amen. So we know everything will be all right. Just as I am without one plea, O Lamb of God, I come. You sing a song like this little.
All right. So
Well, how could you find that coming? How do you do that?
it's on YouTube.
Well, easy for you to say. I don't know about this.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna play it for you before we leave.
Okay.
All right, we're back. And look at you all. Just absorb this right now. This is a living legend.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, this is someone that was singing in the golden age of gospel music.
That's what it was golden age. That's right.
And you've witnessed a lot of historical events throughout time. But all right, so the Sons of the Birds.
Yeah.
Tell us the story.
Sons of the Birds, well, we all went to school together. We all raised up together. And I remember Bo. I used to see him all the time. His father had a yellow Cadillac.
Yellow Cadillac.
Yeah, convertible. Mr. Davis had a convertible Cadillac, yellow.
James Davis.
Yeah. Now, his son, we all was in the same age, 14 years old. But when I went down to Met, they heard him sing because he used to have his big programs on a Monday night at the Met.
Are you talking about the Easter?
Yeah, the Easter Monday. I tell you about and the reason why they had Easter Monday because the church, the preachers kicked against people trying to come to something on a Sunday.
All right. Philadelphia's Met. Once, I think in 1908, if I'm not mistaken, it opened as the Metropolitan Opera House. And then during late 30s, 40s, around that time, it became a venue for a lot of music artists and a lot of gospel artists, people like James Cleveland, the Caravans, the Dixie Hummingbirds, they all performed here.
Blocked it. So Rodney Williams, he was the guy who used to do a lot of it. He said, well, why don't we try Monday night, which was unheard of. 'Cause by that time, we had been singing somewhere on a Friday, on a Saturday, and a Sunday, but it was the preachers that kicked against it. So I went down to Met, and I heard somebody tell this young guy, nice looking guy, you look just like your father. So when I walked up to him later on in the crowd, I said, hey, let me tell you, who's your father, man? He said, my father is Mr. James Davis of the Dixie Hummingbirds, the manager. I said, can you sing? He said, I can sing. I said, I've been singing rock and roll. We trying to get a gospel group together. He said, well, you're going to have to go ask my father, because if he said, okay. So I said, okay, I'll ask your father. So I went to ask Mr. Davis, your son, I would like to see if he could sing with us. First of all, can you sing? He said, I don't know if you can sing or not. I hear him hollering around the house. But I got to see if you nice boys or not, because we was all 14 years old, you know. So after he checked us out, so we could. I think we rehearsed at his house maybe once the whole time, but we started rehearsing about where I lived in North Philadelphia. And I said, William Bobo Jr., his father was the bass singer of the Birds. He was cool with us too. So we had all these, Mr. Beachy's two sons wanted to try out with us, but really, they couldn't sing. They would sing, almost sing. But then, now I'm 17, we trying to get this group together, we're doing weekends, go. We walk from church to church because nobody could drive, it wasn't old enough to drive. We walk on Sunday night looking for somebody to sing, hoping somebody would call us up and say, sing a song.
This is the 40s.
Yeah, no, that's early 50s.
Okay.
And 1956, Bobo Jr. went to the Marine Corps. I went to the Marine Corps right after he did. James Davis went to the Marine Corps. Coop Freisen, who's deceased now, everybody went to the Marine Corps just about. But what happened was the group we were singing with, called the Gospel Stirrers, we were trying to sing like the Soul Stirrers. And when we came home, they had replaced all of us with different guys. I said, man, we'll start our own group then. So we went to see, there's a guy named William Wright, he was the lead singer, he sounded like Mr. Tucker a little bit. He came by one of our rehearsals when I was with the Gospel Stirrers. He was with a group called something, I forget the name of that group, but he could sing. So I said, man, I told Bo, I said, no, what we'll do, let's go see if Bright might want to join us. So we got him, got a Coop. Now, we didn't have a guitar player for about, I guess, 2 or 3 years, because we all something was on a couple of, acapella. And one night I saw this guy singing at a church. He could sing, man. I said, we're going to get that guy to be with us. So he told us, well, if I come, I got to bring my buddy with me. So who's your buddy? He said, guy playing the guitar. Now, little James Williams, somebody called James Williams the other night and said, you should be in that interview. He was, I think he was all of, when we tried to get him, he might have been 14 or 15 when we tried to get him. Now, I said, man, we don't need that guy with us. He got that little cardboard guitar. It was like but he had a lot of spirit. So we did get him. And so we rearranged some songs we preferred to sing a cappella. So that wasn't until 63 until we hit the road. A disc jockey here in town tried to get us to sing rock and roll. She said, y'all are the sons of the Birds. But Mr. Davis had said we couldn't use no birds or nothing. So he finally compromised and said, well, you can say Birds.
So probably went back and changed the name on those. I don't know.
No, this Sons of the Birds.
Oh,
We know every record we ever made,
Okay.
Sons of the Birds, yeah. Because people knew about the fathers, so they knew them the Sons of the Birds. We hated the name. We wanted the Christianaires. We thought, but then there's a real group called the Christianaires. We didn't know at the time. And then Variety Airs. So we said, let's stick with Sons of the Birds. That sounds like a corny name, but let's stick with that. So Oh yeah, good. Mr. Farley was he was Mr. Farley, Mr. James Davis, and then the Blind Boys had the best talkers in gospel. Those are the guys who had to be the MC for the group, talking. Yeah, Woodard, your Lord Woodard. Perfect diction. You understand everything they were saying?
Every word.
Yes, sir.
Every syllable.
And they never did that, with the Holy Ghost. And my mother, they never got, they spoke. They could do a TV, do anything because of how they're speaking. Now, Mr. Howard Carroll was the only guitar player, only guitarist I knew that belonged to After. And I guess you know what that is, the union. So half the groups could never be on TV and all because they wasn't a part of the union.
Oh, yeah.
He could.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what? Right before we end this segment, you were in the era when the quartet groups, they did some hard singing.
Oh, geez.
I want you to tell some stories, but I think it was like early 2000. So I was working in the gospel record shop, and the guy came in and said that he witnessed Archie Brownlee jump from off a balcony or something, or something like that. But tell us some stories about that.
Oh yeah. And Archie Brownlee at the Met, when he started singing, he would go to the end of the stage, and the group was almost a half a block away from him. By that time, people said, "Blind man gonna fall off the stage. He gonna fall off the stage," but he never did.
Really?
But there he was. And I seen June Cheeks get soaking wet, soaking wet, but so much power in that singing. If it was 1 o'clock in the morning, they met some of those shows. It never ended till about 2 o'clock in the morning. No, but there's no clocks around, so you forget track of the time. They tell me in Las Vegas the same way they don't keep clocks in the casinos, so you don't want to know what time it is. But I've seen Archie Brownlee start singing. People start coming back in the Met, getting ready to leave to go home, come back in. Oh yeah, man.
So you've seen the Met filled to capacity?
Yes. Oh, I've seen the Met where the people got just as many people outside trying to get in as they did in the Met.
No.
James Cleveland was in who else was on that program? Gospel Edge. People broke the door trying to get in the Met.
In Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia.
Lord have mercy.
Broke the door. I think the Met was back in that time 3,000. I think it said.
Wow.
So they had that many people outside in the street trying to get in.
Wow. Last but not least, tell us a little story about Dorothy Love Coates. I know you met her, right?
Oh yeah.
She was a hard-working singer.
But her husband was with the Nightingales.
What's her husband?
Carl Coates.
Really?
That's her husband singing that. I want to know, will he welcome me there? You ever see the record?
No, I'm gonna have to listen.
That's her record. That's his.
I wanted to know if he'll welcome me there.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
That was a hit for the 90s. That was her husband doing that. It's the Coates. His name was, and she was so powerful. I seen her set up on that stage. Let me see, him and Jill got killed in 54.
It was 54, 55, one of them.
Yeah, right. So by that time, she was telling that story about how he got lynched and all. Couldn't stand it. That's when I saw that man jump out the balcony in the Met.
Jump out the balcony?
Yeah, I've seen people fall. They was carrying more men out than women that night. She told that story than they did.
Jesus, this had to be powerful.
Oh, men be stiff as the board. I mean, they ain't almost out. They would be out. Carrying them
So
out.
was she singing it in the song, or was she telling the story?
She's telling that story, and they were doing that humming behind her. But she's sitting in a chair, telling that story about them and tell. But she was a powerful. She had the anointing.
Jesus Christ, I could imagine like.
She had the anointing. No, she had the anointing. No. Matter of fact, I've heard a lot of white disc jockeys say their favorite singer was gospel artist with Dorothy Love Coates.
Yeah. You know, Reverend Harold Bailey, the one that
It's his house.
Look, so one time he told me he did a program at Tabernacle in Chicago. He said that the harmonist was the special guest. And after the program, he went downstairs, all the singers, packing up and congregating things of that sort. And he was looking for Sister Coates. And he said he went off into a room, and he said she was on her face, laying before God.
Oh yeah, she was driving. She was real. She was real. Yeah. Let me tell you this story about Charles Johnson. Used to be with a group called the California Paraders or something with Charles Johnson before he went with Nightingale. Charles Johnson, lead singer. And they were singing in the basement of the Apollo Theater, and started singing "Who Are the Ones?" That's in the background. Said, "We are the ones." The award singers fell out. Boom, boom. Couldn't take it. They were singing, "We are the ones. Who are the ones? Who should remember when others forget? We are the one. Who are the ones? We are." and singing that high stuff. And JoJo told me they got that high singing from the violiniers. Everybody's singing high.
This is Robert Blair, like.
Yes, sir, he can do it.
What is this Dr. Jesus? When I first heard, I'm like, what in the world is going on?
You
How
got
could they
it.
sing?
He could do it. He could do it. All them guys were singing in the sky. You know, and we was with this. Let me see who did that do. I know they were singing a song about he had a hard time coming up through the years. You could find it on your thing. People couldn't. It was in Florida when I was with the Sons. We might as well had went back to the car and changed loads and going back home because he destroyed that place singing I had it hard coming up through the years. Robert Blair.
Look at you. Well, you know, you were there, like the strength.
That's it.
That was in the house. That they
Anointing,
them
God.
people, they left probably rejuvenated. They probably felt that they can tackle the weak and.
That's it. That's
God.
it. It gave him hope. It gave him hope. That's right. You felt good.
My God.
The drugstore doesn't sell that kind of stuff.
Stop it.
You can't get it in the drugstore.
What you say?
That anointing, dog, Mr.
Wait a minute.
I've seen Sam Cooke. It was Jimmy Harlow was a guy that took Sam Cooke's place.
Oh, my God.
He was singing that Jesus be a fence around him. But when Sam Cooke was singing, I've seen people throw pocketbooks at him. Shut up! Throw a coach at him. Shut up! Don't sing no more. I've seen that happen a million times. I was with Jesse Jackson at the Armory in Chicago, and you from Chicago? At the Armory, and I think who was it? Clay Evans or somebody was doing something. A lady started running. She ran all around that Armory. Didn't stop. That ain't nothing but God. It's running. Sometimes I've seen people. I've seen that one time I was at a church. The lady said, "That's it. She's trying to get up the door. So I can't stand it. I got to get out of here."
The joy of the Lord.
That's it. I got to get out of here.
My God.
I'm through. I got Jesus. That's enough. There's so many times.
Deliverance.
You got it. You didn't have a dime, but didn't tell nobody but the Lord. And you could see some people at Orange can associate with that. We call them Sister Flute. She gets, when your songs are too deep, people can't understand what you're doing. You sing it for yourself then, or singing for some other groups, but the people can't catch on what you're talking about.
Right. Well, we might as well continue on. So you graduated to the Dixie Hummingbirds. How did that happen?
Well, when we wasn't singing with the Sons, I hung around them guys. I guess they got sick. It's a funny thing that would be. Now, James Davis and Bo and them didn't care that much about being around them like I did.
Really?
Well, that's what they're their own fathers, but I just idolized the Birds, you know. So in 1964, 1961, I went to work for Pepsi-Cola and bought a new car.
The Cadillac?
No, it wasn't. It was a Deuce and a quarter, Oldsmobile, I think Oldsmobile. But I couldn't, when I lost my job, I had a brand new car with no job. So I started traveling with the Birds. Me and Mr. Walker would be in the same car together. So what I would do with them is sell pictures, because they always had an intermission. I'd walk and sell pictures. I hung around them the whole time. But the only thing they knew about was that one song, Christian Life, that we made with the Sons. But I don't know if they knew I could sing it with them or not. I never thought I want to sing with them, because the harmony and what they were singing was so hard. And matter of fact, all the Sons, we never even talked about the Birds so much. Mr. Davis said, "Don't sing our songs." I said, "You ain't got to worry about that, because we ain't trying to sing them tricky songs."
Right.
We hit the road, and that's what they did.
Wow. Okay, so we got this picture, all right? So I'm going to let you hold it so you can name
Okay.
off some of this. Okay,
Oh.
so who's who?
Oh, okay. Now,
You will know because you were a fan.
yeah, Mr. Tucker he joined the Birds when he was 13, I think.
Tucker.
Yeah. Next to them, Mr. Beecher from Rock Hill, South
Beachy.
Carolina, Beachy. Natural tenor singer.
Really?
Flat-footed, no falsetto, there's natural. That's Mr. Davis. He's from Greenville, South Carolina.
James Davis, right?
Yeah, he's the one that founded the group.
Founder.
Yeah.
Him and Parks, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That I told you before they married two sisters. Matter of fact, Barney Parks,
He started the sensation.
let me tell you that, because the rumor was he was trying to compete with the Birds with a bird sounding name, so that's how they got that name.
Interesting.
Yeah. Mr. Bobo, he was the first to die.
Bobo, and that's the one that
The little young guy, yeah,
loved.
crazy about it.
He's a natural bass.
But he's natural bass
Baritone.
player. When he would sing bass, the floors would shake.
And you witnessed that.
Oh yeah, the floor, you could feel that vibration. He wasn't trying to sing it. He could do it. Some of these notes, the bass singer go higher because they can't do it, but he could do the bottom. I think he could do the last key on the piano, somebody was saying. That's James,
Okay.
That's James Walker.
James
He
Walker.
came from the Southern Sons.
So you sang with him?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Matter of fact, he was our trainer for the Sons.
Oh, okay.
That's how we learned. That's how we really learned how to sing for real. Because every time they come off the road, he'd come to my mother's house 2 or 3 nights a week, and we rehearsed. He's making sure we singing right and all that kind of stuff. So they knew we could sing. But the people didn't think we could sing because they said, well, they don't have no grown guys that can sing. But they didn't believe it. So that's why we were better off singing out of Philadelphia because nobody knew nothing about us. So that's Mr. Halbert was the last. He was Mr. Walker was the
So this is
last.
Howard Curl.
Yeah. I said the world's greatest guitar player. They said, because he was almost like a jazz man. He knew, he could read music and all that kind of. He was a smart guy. He had a year of college and all that, so he was smart. He had one rehearsal with the Birds and went on the road with them.
Really?
He rehearsed on a Saturday night and hit the road with them on a Sunday. Then they got Mr. Walker. Mr. Walker had been with the Southern Sons, harmonizing for, and then they got him to sing with. Because Mr. Davis,
Write it down.
yeah, Mr. Davis said, in case Mr. Tucker would get a horse and couldn't sing, he needed some help. But for a long time, Mr. Tucker had that by himself. He was too good for his own good. He could sing, man. I never seen him a horse. What he would do is keep some cough powder in his coat pocket. It was called BC back in that time. BC is stand back.
Yeah.
Well, he had that in the pocket. He eat some of that. I don't care if it was. And I never heard him horse all the time I was with him. But he could just, he tear the house down. He could do it. Wow. Now, when I had been with him, I guess a year or so, his brother-in-law got killed on the Beltway outside of Washington, D.C. He had to leave to go home, go to the funeral of his brother-in-law. Wow. So we were singing without him. But when he came back, he met us. We were singing at a church. It was so much spirit in there, so powerful. A guy got out the audience, came to him and grabbed him and said, okay, Chuck, don't sing no more. Please, don't sing no more. I can't take it. Don't sing no more. Grabbed him. Just like the please, don't sing no more. Come out the audience. We were singing, and the guy come out the audience. Say, that's it. Don't sing no more. Yeah.
You're gonna make me cry.
Now, when I was with the Sons, now Mr. Tucker started that showmanship. I said, that's in the book too. James Brown got thrown on. He started all that. But one night, I jumped off the stage in New York when I was with the Sons. They thought it was part of what I do. But I didn't know the stage was that high. When I hit that ground, man, I said, oh, Lord, I thought I was going to die. They said, the spirit got it. But that stage, that floor got me. That was a tricky theme song we had made up. We Are the Sons of the Birds. It's on one of my albums, the Sons of the Birds album. And I think how great was the second one. But that third song, we were singing as a gospel. William Wright, the other lead singer was Roy Wright, W-R-I-G-H. They started singing, and Wright jumped off that stage and started going back. The owl like he had was like it was ice, with a slide. Bob Washington used to do the same thing with the gospel is. They're singing. The whole front row wiped them out. People fell out. We were sitting on the stage, so that over, just whacked the whole front row.
Oh, God.
I've seen people die too. We were in outside Hampton, Virginia, and I was with the Sons. And how great they are with the powerful song. Because I started off with James Davis, would do all the high stuff at the end of it. Some ladies dropped dead on the front row. I remember that. And I remember the state troopers coming back in the dressing room crying. Hey, enjoyed y'all so much tonight. Yo, boy, my mother died 3 weeks ago, but maybe he had them pretty well. But I remember that night, the Total Jubilee, Clay, one of them, I never get, I could always mix those brothers up. One of them said, I said, how do we do tonight? He said, y'all know. He said, you know what you did good or not. You didn't have to ask me if you did good.
I'm gonna let it show. Well, all along the highway, I'm gonna let it shine. All along the highway, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
All right, so let's talk about this here real brief. So when did you ever record with the Birds? You recorded with the Birds?
Oh yeah, that's a fun. I should have brought that album. That's in the museum too. Smooth Sailing. That's the album I'm on. That was their last album, for real. The rest of the time, Mr. Davis had quit, had left. Smooth Sailing. You'll see me in the boat. Shreveport, Louisiana. We were in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and he took a picture of us in a boat. We were all dressed like sailors, had white suits on, sailor hats. And that's the name of the album, Smooth Sailing. I'm sitting in the boat.
Did you do a lead on there?
No, yeah, the last song I led on, I forget the name of the song now. That was it, the last song on the album. Bob Mavericks just did it, did an interview. I should have put that record. He interviewed a guy that wrote the book about the birds. You heard about that?
Jerry
Zoltan, yeah.
I just talked with him too. He's a really good guy.
Yeah, he
Good heart. He loved the music.
oh yeah, he was the Italy professor
yes.
in colleges.
Oh, yes.
But that was about it, I guess. After I left, we just saw some of the albums. I flew back home one time from Florida just to get records to go back. That's how many records they would sell, man. Yeah, but see, that was like another part of the treasure, selling them records.
So how, if you don't mind, like how did they distribute the money?
When you sang that night, Mr. Davis had that money in it. You already got the cut.
Right there.
Right there.
No driving.
No, nothing, no, that's it, no trying to wait, you know. And then sometimes guys would send money home. Some groups would spend so much money on the weekends. After they got paid, they had to borrow money from God during the week to sing. Some groups did, but not with the Birds.
So when you say send money home on the weekend,
They're telling,
is it like wiring?
yeah, Western Union.
Really? Back at that time?
Yeah, Mr. Tuck was famous for that. His son was in college, the junior, Frank David, Ira Tucker Jr. He sent that money home, yeah. Then, as I told you, they have a lot of fans. Would take care of them, food, you didn't have to worry about that.
Do you ever recall traveling south, staying at a Caucasian person's home, or
No.
so you always stayed in a black?
Well, the truth of the matter is, yeah, black hotels, you're right. I don't think the Birds, Sons and them, we never stayed in nobody's house. By that time, I don't know, I never really wanted this room in nobody either.
You didn't?
We got a black hotel by myself. Very, very seldom we ever bunked two in the room.
Can you cook? Did you bring a hot pot with you?
That's what I was going to tell you before. You could not bring a hot plate or iron.
An iron? You can bring an iron in your
Do
hotel room?
because it burns too much electricity. Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah. We had wash and wear shirts when I was with the Sons. So they were like, almost like a silk shirt, wash and wear, they call it. You wash it out that night, hang it up, and ready for the program the next night.
No iron needed.
You didn't have, you know. So we pressed our suits a lot. But, man, you learn how to do a whole lot of stuff.
Did you tell me something about sardines on the?
That was me that I wrote that song. I had them sardines on the radiator, and something happened to get so many poison. So you can't leave that stuff all day long on that radiator. And that's the night I thought I was going to die. I said, oh Lord, let me live so I can die serving you.
My God.
I had that pain in my stomach. I said, oh Lord, I told those guys, I said, man, I'm really sick for real.
For real.
Yeah, but you learn. I tell you what you do when you go to the restaurant and eat. When you have soup or whatever, maybe the crackers, you start saving stuff. Because when them pains hit you, sometimes you're hungry. Yeah.
Oh, I never even thought about that.
Oh yeah, you don't be throwing stuff away.
So you all walked around, or I probably drove around with things in your pocket.
Yeah, oh, no question. Yeah.
You know, it makes me think about a book that I'm reading, The Orphan Train. One of the orphans, she got to one place, foster home, and the girl told her, "You better learn how to start saving stuff for dinner. You better
You see that?
put a crumb in your pocket."
You see that? What about the little girls that True Vets made a record way before you could, I don't want no more peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. That was a hit record for the little kids got sick. The Staples told me one time, now the Jewel gospel singers, Candy Staples group, they say stop because they get sick of being hungry. Because if you only sing it on Sunday, you got to wait till the next long week is awful long, you know. But that's the life on the road. But I told you before, I wouldn't trade nothing for it. I love it. When I would go somewhere and the birds said they wasn't going to sing, I said, "Oh Lord, I want to sing." Because there was not a lot of people they wouldn't sing. And with the Sons, we was singing storefronts on kids. We didn't have all the strict rules, but the birds had rules. They had to have enough people to sing to. Yeah.
Did you ever meet any of the Golden Gate Quartet?
Never did. I never did.
They're really popular here.
They were popular. Some of them from, I think one or two were from here, but it was popular overseas. Now I went to, I didn't tell you this last night, in 1982, I went to the first World Gospel Concert on the Riviera. They flew me out there to sing because they were looking for Isaac Douglas. You heard them before. And they couldn't find him. And so one of the water singers said, the Star of the Wave said, Star of Faith told him, "I know a guy in Philadelphia can do that. He's a preacher. He can do that." And they come and got me. When they flew me there, I flew over to Paris. My wife was in the airport. I left her in the airport. When I got to Paris, she's sitting in the airport waiting on me. To this day, I don't know how she beat me going to Paris because I left her I left her in the airport. Yeah, she said, "You ain't leaving me here." So we was on the Riviera. So that was big. Who was on that program with it? Charles Taylor. You ever
Love on someone and change your life. And what's the address here? If you all want to mail, I want you all, if you got a little
that's a good
Boston
one.
or something like that.
You can mail it to my post office box.
What is that?
Post office box 4262. 4262.
And what's the
19144. We've had that box for 50 years.
19144?
19144.
And that's just,
That's post office box.
That's Philly, right?
Yeah, Philadelphia, 4262.
42.